It's like, and it's all coming together into this beautiful cocktail now.
Yeah, I do think that. And when I was doing the teacher training, we did this really good thing about your purpose, like, so
Hmm.
piece of work on that. And it was really because I'd always thought that I did a master's in sustainable design
Hmm.
much later when I got to New Zealand. And I was like, I'm going to be a sustainability architect. That's my calling. And then I did this session. I was like, oh shit, it's people. By helping people become more in tune with themselves, with nature, and each other,
Mm.
that makes them kinder to the environment. So, therefore, my calling is actually to create the spaces and places that help people to thrive,
Yes,
and also the classes that do that. And that's the ripple effect. It's not that I will be a sustainability architect and full
agreed.
stop.
Yeah. Well, you are, just not in the way you thought it was going to show up.
Yeah, not at all. And that explains why I could never get a job. Like I always go for these jobs and I didn't have
Yep.
the experience in that. But there's obviously a reason that I had to go down this mad path of, yeah, crazy jobs and end up
Hmm.
kind of closing the circle now. And at my
Yeah.
age now, I see that my role is to support and mentor
Hmm.
people as much as anything else. I don't
Yes.
the front anymore like that driver's the ego's not driving anymore, right? So I
Yeah.
don't be in the front of the room anymore. I can be at the back.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Encouraging and lifting people up with the skills that you have.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So here we are. Now we're in segment three, which is reflecting light, which means, Joe, I'm excited. You have a question for me.
I do indeed. It's quite a long question.
Okay, bring it.
I think it goes back to first meeting you in 2017. Yeah,
Hmm.
2017 in Canada, Vancouver Island. And since I've first met you, you've always come across, and you can talk in your answer about it, but you've always come across as really confident and kind of knowing your path. And I mean, that fills me with awe, to be honest, because I'm very much not in that. So, what is it that you think helps you have such a strong belief in yourself? And what could you share that might help me for sure, or anyone watching or listening to cut through the noise and be clearer on their path? And that's me speaking as somebody who's constantly second guessing, reinventing, and
Mm,
changing to accommodate what I think others need. Whereas I feel like you've kind of cut through that.
mm. It's a beautiful question. And it's actually really interesting because I had that reflected back to me as well. So when I say it's really interesting, is because firstly, it's really surprising to hear that that's the way you viewed me,
Mm-hmm.
because that is not at all what was going on the inside. So
Well,
if you were to ask me when my confidence really came, that was only like a year or so ago. When my true like sense of self, my true, I love who I am, I'm confident who I am backing myself, I am my best teammate, like that sense of confidence has only been here like just not that long ago. And stepping into probably the role with my sister. So the other thing that I heard when you asked me that question is like, how was it that you were able to be that confident? You get good at what you practice, and I was very good at showing up in the way I wished I wanted to be.
okay.
That doesn't mean that I was fake, but it means that there was a whole lot going on behind the scenes that nobody else could see. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I think one of the areas that gave me confidence and offered that to others is because I really and have always believed that the impact I leave and the connections that I make are the most important thing. So I always want to leave people better than I found them. And so being confident to me was like, this is the effect or this is the impact I can have on people,
Yeah.
is lifting them up. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does make sense. And kind of in a way, I get it too, because you portray a vision of yourself that that wants to self-reflect, that you want people to like, right? But
Hmm.
also like, and so I think at that training for sure it came across that you knew, well, you knew what you were doing around a yoga studio, which was very handy, right?
That's true.
little side crawl. I was like, oh, look at her, that's
Yeah.
exciting. I do one, but then I don't practice one. So that was a good thing about practicing, right? And
Yeah.
I think that confidence, you're speaking of your sister, and it's true. These big experiences change us, and it's changed
Mhm.
me. And I know it's changed you.
Yeah.
So if you could, not everybody can have. I mean, your experience with your sister was, so amazing.
Mm.
And mine with my mum. But I guess if somebody's listening or watching this, what advice would you give to them? About how you kind of maybe cut through the noise and started to get
Yeah.
centered in the knowing.
Yeah. Well, then it comes to that, like what I was explaining about, like this year, and because of everything that I've been through, I really feel like I have my own back. I really believe in myself. I believe in my capacity, and that's what you're asking for. It's like, how do you get there, right?
Yeah.
And I believe it's your self-talk.
Mm,
I really firmly believe until we address the thoughts we're thinking, and the subconscious levels of doubt and fear, that a lot of them aren't ours or are really old, until we look at those, the way we perceive the world doesn't shift.
yeah.
Because there's a lot of layers that, and I do this a lot with my work and my clients, is like it's not until we really share what we think when nobody else is around, what we think in our own head, in our own heart about ourselves. It's not until we share and shift that we really start to feel, not just portray, but feel that confidence. And there's less room for judgment, comparison, and comparing. It's like I'm here and what I am and what I know, and I'm doing the best I can. And so there's no room for that other stuff, which is what brings us down, which is what gets in the way of that confidence.
Yeah, and I think sometimes when I think about how I talk to myself, and I would never talk to a friend like that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Really good. That's a really good. I suppose that's a really good thing. Is like think about would you say that to your best friend, and
Hmm.
it'd be ridiculous, but you're saying it to yourself. Like I quite often say I'm too old or too whatever, or too stiff or too big
Yep.
to be a good yoga teacher, which is bullshit
It's
because
bullshit.
that's what I'm telling myself, but other people are telling me you're exactly the right shaped aged yoga teacher for me,
Yep.
because not everybody is super flexible and young and skinny, right? But,
Yeah.
but I have that in my head. Luckily now I'm kind of moving through it and I know I'm a really good
Yeah.
yoga teacher, but it's taken a long time to get
But
there.
it does get in your way.
Yeah, yeah, it
Yeah,
does.
and I love what you said. I love that you said the word bullshit, because that's another thing. It's like that's a scenario, that's a way out. So we've probably got people that are listening now and they're like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but how do I do that? And I literally explain it as when you hear things in your head, when you think things, call bullshit. When you hear I'm not good enough for that, or when you hear I'll never be able to do that, or when you hear they'll probably judging me, call bullshit, because it is, because you don't know it's true.
Yeah.
And I actually find that that's really powerful. Um, and then we really start to hold ourselves in a different way. But you're absolutely right. I love what you said, because a lot of people are like, well, I don't know how to be kind to myself. And I say, well, what would you say to your best friend?
Mm,
And
yeah.
I say, you just need to learn how to turn that background on you. You just need to learn how to be your best teammate, cheerleader, coach, whatever like you like to call it. But how do you be? Because nobody knows what you need to hear like you do. Nobody knows what your fears or doubts are like you do. So the best person to address and comfort and reassure and lift up is you.
But it's so often not the person that we turn to for that. We
Yeah,
don't turn to ourselves and do that. We turn externally too
yeah,
often for that, like I
yeah,
said, validation,
yeah.
rather than internal validation of quite often right? You know and
Mm.
hear what
Yeah.
what it is. Yeah.
Which turning to someone else can help get you over the line. Hearing it from someone else can help, but it's never really going to shift the belief, the self-belief, because you'll always have that other little program running of like, I'm not good enough for this. If I've always had this, I'm to this, I'm to that, I'm not enough of this. It's like until we really look at those, because that's the thing, that's the other reason why people don't get there, is because they look at it and it scares them and they don't like it, so they don't want it. But I'm like, the moment you look at it, it starts to shift.
Yeah.
And it's a really powerful place. But and that's what drives me in my work. And that's what was, you know, when you said 2017 and like looking back at confidence, I was like, that is actually when I was at my worst, because all the layers were peeled back and I was like really like comparing and judging myself to everybody else. But I was also a very good actor, so I didn't appear that way. But where was I going with that? It's like it's really understanding that that is also a reflection of you stretching. So when there's more noise, when there's more doubt, when there's more fear, that's because you're going in a new direction. It's
Yeah.
because the nervous system is like, whoa, this is not comfortable, but it doesn't mean it's not a good stretch.
Yeah. Like you can't have the change without the discomfort. Like it doesn't just flow. Like it
Mm,
really, I think it's if it's flowing,
yeah,
so this company is the flow company, right? But if it's flowing sort of too fast, I guess you're not really on board. You know what I mean? Does that make
agreed.
sense? Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And
Yeah.
that's where it comes back to that discomfort. Like it is, that's what's required because a lot of people think that confidence is just something that you'll get given.
Yeah.
And yes, to a degree, it is something that you decide. It's like I'm going to decide to practice confidence. I'm going to decide to stretch myself so I build more faith and capacity and capability of myself. But confidence isn't something that we're given. Confidence is on the other side of courage. Can't
Yeah.
have one without the other,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is what you're saying about discomfort. Like you have to lean in order to stretch, in order to find that.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful question.
You're welcome.
Ah, isn't it though? Like, and to understand where we're confident and where we're not, and how we appear and how we're perceived, but also what, and at the same time is like knowing, well, I was really questioning my own worth at that point, but it's like it's reassuring to know that I was still able to kind of, I guess, vibrate that for others.
Yeah.
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 But it's a practice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that question. And I hope I don't know, I hope that that might inspire some questions for either you and I on any of the platforms that this gets shared on. And I'm really glad that we got to speak on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. So we're coming to the end, which is quite nuts. It feels like time is flowing. But what I wanted to ask you now, Joe, is like if people want to connect with you in your work in whatever way that appears, retreat, yoga, architecture, um, how do they connect with you? And what do have you got anything coming up?
Oh, yes, I do. When this goes to air, I am very, very blessed to be able to run my seventh retreat at Mana in the Coromandel,
Yeah.
end of March. So it's actually warm.
Wow.
I get the winter ones. So depending on when we go to air, this might be valid. I'm also
Yes.
doing another Tonga retreat with the humpback whales. If they
Amazing.
come swim with us, and that's 2027. The best way to get me, and I think this is a really good example of all these years I've been trying to come up with the right name for something and the brand and the this and that. Anyway, it's joemonahan.com.
Nice. And we'll chuck that in the show notes so people can connect with
To
you.
give myself some other persona, and everything's joemonahan.com, so you can if you go on there you'll find it. I'm on Instagram and I am on Facebook for those of the not so young generation that are still using Facebook. I quite like it.
Oh, that's perfect. Joe, I want to thank you so much for being here. It's
Yeah.
been a really beautiful way to, and that's what, I've experienced in the podcast, but to allow ourselves to be inspired, but also just to really be open to see what comes through. And we've really had an experience of that today. And
Yeah.
for those that are listening, that's it for today's inquiry. And I hope that it sparked something in you. And if you'd like to keep the conversation going, if you want to connect with either of us or to perhaps bring some of the aspects that came up for us today, especially around that confidence and what instills and what gets in the way of that, then perhaps you sit down and listen to this with someone else. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and keep the flame alive. Thank you so much, Jo.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks, everybody.